Okay, g'day, I'm Joe from Professional CAD Systems. Today we're going to show you how to reverse engineer this motorcycle part. So it's a very complex shape, nearly impossible to measure with traditional measuring techniques. So we've got Creaform's MetraSCAN, and we're going to show you how to get up and running. So the first thing I need to do before we get started is acquire the targets that I've put on the table, and that will ensure that if this table moves in any way, it's tracking the movement of the part. So we go out into the software, I can go and select manual detect, and I just simply drag a selection around those targets and accept it. And you can see it's already registered the targets, they're in red. It's already tracking the MetraSCAN. You can see it on the picture. The C-Track's taking track of that. So then next what I need to do is I need to determine what resolution I need to use to capture the part. So I can go over to the left hand side and I can change the resolution maybe to about 0.8. And what's cool with our software is that we can also adjust like some settings before even getting started. So I can click on auto decimate, and we'll put large triangles in the large surface areas and keep small triangles in the small or the high detailed areas. And we also have a thing called smart resolution. So what it will do is just put small triangles on the high detailed areas and use bigger triangles in the larger surface areas. So next what I'm going to do is hit scan. Cool. And then I just need to capture a little bit of the table because I basically want to remove that. So just simply scan a bit of that. Just enough so I can create a clipping plane. So next I can go add a clipping plane and just delete that out, because I just don't need it. The next step is I need to adjust my shutter speed for the laser strength for the part. So I've got these multi-function buttons on the back of the scanner. I can hold the tick down, scroll down to auto adjust, accept that, aim it at the object, and it will automatically adjust to suit. Once it's done, it will exit. And so at this point, I'm ready to start scanning. So I can hold the trigger down on the front of it. That will start the session. And then tap one more time, and we'll start to collect it. So it's just like 3D spray painting. As I go over and over it, it just keeps filling in the gaps. What's quite nice is it has like a distance meter on the lasers on the screen. So if I get too close, it will go red. Too far away, it will go blue. So you're just aiming to be in the green zone. But it's a very fast scanner. You can just sweep over and over the part as many times as you like, and it will only ever create a single surface. If your laser strength isn't quite enough, you can toggle between zooming in and shutter speed. So I can just increase that a little bit more. And then I should be able to capture the surfaces a bit easier now. That's better. So we'll just go around, make sure we haven't missed anywhere. What's also quite nice with the Black Elite model is that we get a single laser. So if I double tap the trigger, it'll go down to a single line. And it just makes it a little bit easier getting into those hard to reach areas. Plug in there. you can just flick back to the other laser mode. Okay, so that's one half done. We can hold the trigger down and press stop. Then what you need to do to add the second half is we just click on add a scan, and we can copy the clipping objects. So we'll copy that clipping plane that we created, and then we can use that. So it also copies the mesh, so I might delete that. Hit scan again, and now we just need to turn the part over. Okay, so when you're ready to scan the other half, again you just hold the trigger down, tap the trigger one more time, and just start scanning again. And again, I can double tap the trigger just to get into the hard to reach areas. It just gets deep into the holes. So basically it switches to a single lens when you go to the single laser mode. Good. So once you're done, you just hold the trigger again, stop the scan, and now we can look at merging the two scans together. So we can go up to merge scan, and we can do a best fit alignment, and we can just click keep the original scans just in case you want them, and we can click best fit automatic alignment, and it should find enough common geometry that it knows the overlapping data. And at this point, you're not stuck to using 0.8mm triangles. You can actually increase the resolution even further if you wanted to. So I could say maybe like 0.6. And it will recalculate, redraw on the raw information and reproduce an STL mesh based on that data that we've got in the background. So now if we turn off scan 2 and scan 1, you can see we're left with that part. If I get the select tool, I can select all I want to keep because there's a little bit of floating data somewhere, like here. So I select what I want to keep, click on the keep selected delete tool. So keep what you've selected and it will filter out anything else. And once you're happy, you just click on finalize. And it's just going through and adding in those post or pre-processes that we put in place, the decimate triangles, any hole filling and stuff like that. And there's the finished result. So when you're happy with your information, all you need to do is export to mesh. So we just go File, Export, Mesh. And then I also like to save the session because that contains all that raw information if you ever want to change the resolution, add more detail. And then lastly, before we stop the scan, I'll just show you how it looks, how the triangles are formulated, how they're all stacked together. So you can see the details that we're getting here. If I go to there, I can go triangles on wireframe, and you can see there's the larger triangles, And on the smaller or sharper edges, you can see it's got more triangles, more density. So it really optimizes the mesh for you to export and use for reverse engineering.
Okay, so now that we've finished 3D scanning the motorcycle part, we're going to look at Geomagic DesignX Essentials to reverse engineer the part. So first we need to go to Import, and we can import the STL file, and it comes in as a mesh, obviously. So what I'm going to do is just create a couple of regions, and regions are useful for extracting things like planes or cylinders. So we're going to grab the Smart Selection tool, and I'm going to left click and drag my mouse up, and it will start to find that plane. Then under the region menu I can click Insert and just insert a plane. Go to the cylinder, left click and drag it upwards, and it just starts to select the cylinder. Insert. On the side here we're going to add a plane, and then insert. So I'm just creating these features or these regions to help with my alignment. Okay, and then before we carry on, next we'll go to Model, and I'm going to add a plane. So I can now filter and find regions, and click on that plane and go Preview, and it fits a plane onto that region real quickly. So it's quite useful for quickly selecting things as well. I can now add the cylinder, and I'm going to find a vector, and I'm going to find the cylinder's axis and accept that. And next I'm going to create a point, and I'm going to use the vector and the plane. So we're going to use line and face intersection, and it fits a point where the line and the face intersect, or the plane intersect, and accept. So now that we have these entities, we can now do an alignment. So we go to the alignment menu, interactive alignment, and it's already pre-aligned, so I'm going to go next, and it just splits the screen, so it gives you an idea of as you're doing your alignment how it's looking. So my position, I'm going to use the point, and that just sets the origin. The y-axis, I'm going to use the vector, and it's hiding, so I'm just going to click on it here in the tree. And then lastly, for either X or Z, I can use the side plane, and that will lock it. If I didn't want to use X, I just click on Z and select that, and it now has aligned it. And you can see on the right hand side it's now aligned to a coordinate system, and I can now accept it. And if I just use Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see it's all aligned how I wanted it to be. So next what I'm going to do is just add a few more regions. So we'll go back to Model. I'm going to use that selection tool. Good. Sorry, I need to be in the region group. Select this plane, and we're going to add that. Select this plane, add that region, and holding shift I can add more to the selection and insert a plane, because that's at the same height and level. Next I'm going to go to Sketch, and I'm going to select Mesh Sketch. I can then click on a plane to begin from, and then just take that down approximately 1.5 millimeters to get the outline. And really what I'm after is the circle in the inside at the moment. Okay, and accept that. Next I can use a circle tool, double click on the circle, and that fits the circle to it. And after creating that circle I go to Smart Dimension and just check the dimensions of that. So up to you, but usually we just make it, I guess, round numbers. So I'm going to double click on that and type 7 and enter, and it will adjust the radius of that. Next we go to rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle around here, and you'll see why later. I'm going to use this rectangle as basically a cutting plane. So we're going to come back to that. Escape. Now we just need to do each of the other sections. Each of the other mounting points. So we now go to Mesh Sketch again. Repeat the process. Approximately 1.5 lower. And you don't have to adjust this cross section, but if you don't want, I guess, additional information in there, it's quite useful to do. Circle tool, and then a rectangle as well, and accept. Smart dimension, again it's 7mm, so we're going to double click on that and type 7. Escape out of that, or exit out of that mesh sketch, and then again we'll select the region, sketch, mesh sketch, and this time we're only focusing on these two mounting points, and just bring that down, and we'll just do it 1mm lower this time. Accept. Circle tool, double click, rectangle tool, just draw a rectangle around there, and smart dimension. So it's 5.3, so we'll just say 5. And then we can exit that mesh sketch. Then we want to do a mesh sketch on here just to get the cylinder shape. So I'll go sketch again, mesh sketch. And we'll just bring that down. If you wanted more of an average of that cylinder, you could take the mesh sketch lower. Then you could say I want a silhouette of maybe like 10. And the silhouette will give you a better average of the whole opening. And we'll just take more points into account for creating that vector. Then I can get the circle tool, fit that on, and give it a dimension. Okay, so we'll go 20mm. Okay, so right now I've got the mounting points that I want, everything I need. So we're going to add those planes and the mounting points back to the part later. But for now, what we're going to do is remove them and auto surface the part. So we go to the mesh here, make sure it's active. We just need to select everything. Control A is a great way of doing that. Or you can just get the paint bucket and click straight on the mesh and it just selects all. Now that I've done that, we can go Control C and that copies everything. Control V and that will paste the mesh. So we now have the exact same mesh. So once we've finished creating the mesh sketches and after copying the mesh, we can now remove the holes because we're going to add or subtract those later from the solid. So I'm going to use the circle selection tool, and I'm going to use I'm going to turn off visible only so that I can select through. So just drag that up and just go and select those holes, holding shift, and by holding shift I can just keep adding to the selection. Okay, once I've done that and select through, I just need to deselect these areas here because I want to keep them. So I switch back to lasso, turn select through, I'll select visible on again so I don't select through, and just deselect holding control what I want to keep. Now press delete on your keyboard and it should just remove only the holes. So now we can get the hole filling tools under polygons. We can click on fill holes. I'm going to select boundaries and I'm going to make sure that the way that I fill those boundaries is flat because it's just a flat surface. So you just go through and click on those boundaries where those holes should be, and we're just hole filling just those areas there. Okay, and accept, and it will just flat fill those, leaving it basically a solid mesh. I can just turn off the sketches for the moment and turn off that plane, so you can see we've only got basically the mesh showing, and maybe I'll just turn off the vector and the point. Okay, so the next step is you go to model. You then click on auto surface, and it's a mechanical part, so we'll leave that as mechanical. The capture accuracy, you could play around with that. You can set a specific target patch count if you wanted to, but if you auto estimate it'll basically work it out for you. So we can go next and just allow it to do the auto surfacing. And basically we're just shrink wrapping lots of CAD surfaces or NURBS around the scan data, and it's a really useful tool for organic shapes where 3D modeling it might take a lot more time than what's needed, you know. Because if you're just maybe replicating this part, you're just wanting to make it a solid and create clean machine surfaces. So that's what we're aiming to do here. Okay, so you'll soon see a network of patches over top of it, and it tries to, it's quite intuitive, it tries to just follow the contours of the part. So the mesh layout or the CAD patch layout is quite uniform, and then we can accept that. Okay, so the auto surface is completed, and that actually generates a solid. So you can see here we actually have a solid body now. So what we want to do is create machine surfaces on where these mounting points will be. So if we turn back on the sketch now, we could now go to model, extrude, and just click on that, and I'll just extrude both the circle and the rectangle, and we'll go the opposite direction 1 millimeter, so it just cuts down 1 millimeter, and we select cut, enter. We're going to then offset that another 1 mil back up to the right height as well later. So we then go control space, and that puts us back in the same tool, and we again repeat the process. Oops. Since it's parametric, I accidentally forgot to select cut, so I can double click on the extrude that we did. Make sure you choose cut and OK. And then control space, base sketch again, we just choose the sketch. Opposite direction, 1 millimeter, cut. OK. Okay, so since this is the Essentials version of Geomagic Design X, there's a little bit less tools. Like with the full version, I should be able to just extrude these surfaces straight up and merge them back up 1 millimeter. But since it's slightly cut down, we have to do it a different way. So we gotta go to Surface Offset. We just choose the faces, and you can see they're being offset 1 millimeter upwards. And we don't want to remove the original faces, we want to leave that as a solid. So we go OK. So we've just got we've just set the height for what we want to extrude it to. But so the workaround is we could go loft, and we choose the profile as the face here. So we zoom in a bit, and we just choose the surface above, and it will loft it up to that face. Again, repeat, control space, click, click, enter, control space. Oops, got the wrong one, so you just deselect that. Make sure you get the face, and then control space. Okay, so we just now extruded those machine cut surfaces back up. So once that's done, you can turn off those surfaces that we used just as a tool to offset up to, and it's still a solid, right? So now we can do our cut throughs with our bosses, so we can go extrude, choose the sketch, and we may be able to do both at once, so we'll just turn off we'll just turn on those sketches again. I'm gonna choose this other profile here. Okay, let's just do one at once, one at a time, and we'll go opposite direction and just take that right through, and then we can cut that away. So then over here we just go extrude, and we want to only do that and not that. Opposite direction, cut, accept. And then these ones here, control space, we repeat the process, and we just want to go the opposite direction, and we'll just go down, let's say 5mm, but we can work that out later. Accept. But I forgot to choose cut, so we can edit that extrusion again, make sure you select cut. Control space, click on the sketch, opposite direction. It's remembered the 5mm but not the cut, so we tick that and accept. And we've now completed our part. So you can see now we have a solid, we've got nicely cut bosses, machine surfaces, and we can now re-engineer this or re-CNC it. Thanks for watching.